All right, what's up? So we're here with my former client, Darcy Coss. Darcy is an online coach, helps people heal from back pain and sciatica. Darcy and I worked together for about 4 or 5 months, and I was running his YouTube, doing short form content on Instagram. And Darcy, I just wanted to ask you the first question. Where were you at before we started working together, and what were you looking for before we decided to continue on?
Yeah, so before where I was at, like from a content standpoint, I didn't really have a YouTube presence that was consistent. I was just randomly doing stuff here and there. And so the biggest thing that I came to you for is like, hey man, like I want to build this YouTube presence. I know how powerful it can be. And so that was the before. And then also even on the Instagram side, I wasn't doing consistent stuff, or when I was, it was again fragmented. And I was just like I felt like I was wasting time doing it, to be fair. That was like my true feeling. Like, why am I doing this? I'm not very good at it. It's taking way too much of my time up. And then
Mhm.
because of that, I would be like inconsistent, right? So that was my state before we started working together.
Yeah. So tell the people watching this what the biggest benefit of working with me was. I know we talked about the leads coming through after watching the YouTube channel were just so much
Mhm.
more qualified and just so much warmer.
Yeah. So that was by far the biggest takeaway was, and I didn't know at the time, when I first started, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get all these people. I'm going to have this, YouTube's evergreen. It's great. People are just going to, and to be fair, like I do have people who click the link and grab the free program, and I meet them like, oh, I just found you on YouTube. Like, that's great. So I do get direct leads from it. But my Instagram is still my main funnel, right? But the crazy thing about building the YouTube channel was I started to, because of the nature of the stuff we built together, I realized I'm like, oh, this is exactly like, we did a video on like how my clients get success, right? It's like what the most common people have in like, success. And I was like, that's exactly what I want people to not only understand, but do, right, within the program. So I started using that as like ways to like frame like, a lead once they came in to my ecosystem. I started using that as stuff that I would actually share in IG, like, hey, you know what, there's something that can I share it with you real quick? It's really helpful. And I'll send it to them. And then people were like, oh man, that video was amazing. Like I understand, right? I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Obviously, that was building rapport with them because it was a little longer. It's not on IG. If they go and click it, they're like, we're probably going to watch it, right? So that was great. And then I just started putting it inside my free lead magnet. So these were the foundational videos. There was 5 days, and then there'd be something on mental mindset or like whatever. And I started using those. So people would sign up for the free course, would then go and they would see these videos, and they would be like the main meat of the that day. And then there'd be some like, additional things I would give them. And those are the leads that come on the call and they're just like, oh, like I totally understand, like I get it, like I believe you with X, Y, and Z, and you change my perspective on this specific thing. And that all happened because of the YouTube presence. And then people are like, oh, I like the client that I signed, who did find me on TikTok also like said, oh, I watched all of your videos on YouTube. Like, I went and watched everything. And they were so on the call, they're like, I'm pitching to them different offers. They're like, most people take like the cheaper offer because it's still very effective, but the VIP offer is there for people who want more touch points. And they're like, I want that. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's go. Right. But that was because they spent like, I don't know how many hours with me,
Hmm.
right? Through
And
YouTube. They just sat there and watched the long form stuff. So
and that was your biggest contract ever?
that, yeah, exactly, up to this point, my biggest single signing, right?
Wow.
So yeah, and that came through having that presence because I think the biggest takeaway where that I can say is obviously it took a while to get there because we had to produce a lot of videos, but working with you allowed me to truly actually, and this is probably the most powerful thing. So we all have our proprietary info, right? Like the way we see the world, the way we believe things should be done. And people tend to work with us as coaches because of that reason. Oh, I like this person. I trust them. And they know something about this topic and they approach it in a way that I feel comfortable with, right? Or identify with. And what working with you allowed me to do was actually put that down in video form, in long form. Like I didn't have a single place to like, oh, this is how I believe about this. So when you're just in short form land, which is fine, it's very hard to say, oh, this is my foundational video on this topic. All right. Because it's like, oh, I don't know, where's that short form video? Like
Hmm.
but when it's on YouTube, it's like it's very official. And
Hmm.
having it there and being able to lay it out and put it specifically in specific playlists, I can now even just share playlists with people. Hey, watch this playlist. It
Hmm.
has these four videos that explain this topic in this manner. And it's almost like a course in itself. That makes
Hmm.
sense. And so that was the power, where it's like in this place that I'm in, a lot of people need to be educated or build an understanding around something. I guess most places, but if someone's already in business, they don't understand what marketing is. But like people who get back me in Saturday for the first time are like completely fine one day, and the next day they're like, "What the hell's going on?" It's a different problem, right? Like you
Hmm.
become problem aware because they have no choice. Like they're in pain, they're suffering, so they're just looking for information. And when you have the YouTube presence, you have Instagram, but you also have the YouTube presence. It legitimizes you even that much more because they can actually see what you believe in a longer format versus me just being like reading a chat GPT script off my phone.
Yeah. So would you say
Yeah.
that having that established long form presence was a very key catalyst for you in getting from where you were at financially to now being able to reach that next level?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Because again, like obviously all the other work still gets done, but
Hmm.
you have that as this like obviously it takes time to like grow because people have, and you have to use it. Like, so like for me, like I said, I intentionally found a way to use it and a way to like drive traffic to it, but in a way that was just built around getting leads. So yeah, absolutely it has, because it's just allowed me to be that much more legitimized, right?
Hmm.
I'm not just a guy with an Instagram account who just does short-term form video. I'm a guy that has long form content that is sharing his views and even his process around something. And that's built that trust that a lot of people like, the last, that one of those, the client that I told you about earlier, that was my largest single, paying client to this point.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so what would you say about the process of working with me? And obviously at the time it was my team. But how was that process?
It was really good. Like I think like the first meeting, I still remember it because you made me understand that like there has to, so you were talking to some of your team, like, hey, this is, blah, 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 kind of introducing me, like, look, like this is what he does, and this is what we want to take place. Right. And so having a clear vision,
Hmm.
that was probably one of the biggest things. And that was something that like I've always told you you're really good at, is like creating like a vision, or being able to like explain something or imagine something, I think is probably a better way to say it. So like I'm not like a creative person, not that you have to be in this space, but like you were really just able to say, hey, like this is what he wants to do, and this is how we envision the channel being.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I'm like, yeah, that would be cool if we could do that. And that was probably the most powerful thing, is just like having a vision and understanding, and like being able to curate that for me. Be like, hey, look, like this is what we think. And like, yeah, I
Hmm.
see that. That's what I want as well. I get it. Because I told you, and then you were able to like say it in like a sentence. It was like, yes,
Yeah.
right. And so it brings it all together. It's like, okay, we get
Yeah.
it. And then the best part was, is like I wasn't necessarily at this point, like I wasn't necessarily gonna like do the work, but you helped me with, like, I learned so much. I think that's probably the other big thing I have to say. And so I learned like the power of specific hooks and moving hooks and written hooks and spoken hooks.
Hmm.
And making sure that like, another big thing that's been really powerful that I learned through working with you was how powerful like your personal story can be. And
Hmm.
that's something that you've always shared very well, like whether it's on your social media, on your own stories, just like, hey, I'm going to tell a quick story here. I'm just going to like in written form, like not even, it's just black screen. Like
Hmm.
I'm just going to write something, but like sharing your personal experience, that's been a big one, right? And so making sure that people understand, like, hey, like I get you, I get, like
Hmm.
I totally understand in my own version of it, but like I get how hard this is, or I've been where you're at. And that's probably the next biggest thing, is like those, and applying that to content when I make it, like thinking from that lens.
Hmm.
um those are probably like the biggest takeaways. So the
Hmm.
vision, and then just like some of the actual tactical skills that we applied, and then that I apply no matter what. I always think about that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If there was somebody who's on the fence of working with me, what would you tell them?
So I would say you work with Nicholas. These are people who are on the fence. These are not people that I have to convince. They're like, oh, this guy's cool. So I would just say, like, if you're struggling specifically with a vision, um, you don't think that you're someone who's like good at coming up with ideas, or like, because I remember there was times when you're like, hey man, have you ever, what about this? Like you just say it, like we just be talking. And I was like, oh, that's really good. I'm like, boom. And like that was what I use. Like, that's my Instagram bio now.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. It was just like your thought. Like, you're like, okay, like, how about this? What about this? And so I would say that, like, if you're struggling with like how do I write stuff? What should I write? What's the angle that I should write it from? You feel kind of like inept and incompetent in that way. I would say like Nicholas is going to, well, if you're open to it, teach you those skills,
Mhm.
but he's going to display them, right? Like, he's going to show you, right? And through that, if you're open, like, you can actually, like anything, you can
Mhm.
learn these skills. You can absorb some of these, and then you can eventually like learn how to do them yourself. And so that's what I would say is like, if you feel like you're truly like lost in a sense, and you don't know how to like take your ideas and like bring them down into the simplest form, I would say that would be the reason why they would work with you.
Okay, sick. Well, Darcy, that was very well appreciated, and that seems like a good time to end this. But if you're watching this video and you're thinking about working with me, shoot me a message on Instagram, or if you have the offer doc, just let me know if you're ready, and we'll talk later. Okay, peace, everybody.